Let's get to news from the Americas now. We're joined by our correspondent in Mexico City, Katie Silva. Katie, after a months-long fuel crisis and regular blackouts, I see that big ship cruise into Cuba from Russia. Tell us more.
That's right. So a tanker docking, bringing about 730,000 barrels of oil. It's the first time in 3 months that we've seen an oil tanker reach the island. The last was in early January. Now, fishermen watched in the early hours this morning as the ship docked at the Matanza port. It's east of the capital, Havana. And across the country, Cubans cheered. We heard, for example, its energy minister posting on social media to thank Russia for sending this much-needed lifeline. As you say, the country has been brought to the brink by this US-led fuel blockade. So Cuba was cut off from oil supplies in January, particularly after we saw the capture of Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, Trump as well threatening to impose tariffs on countries that sent oil to the island. And as a result, the country has faced a series of power blackouts, severe shortages of food and medicine. There were questions about whether or not this Russian tanker was going to be able to pass, but we heard President Trump saying that there was no problem and that the Cubans have to survive. In terms of how much this is likely to bring, it's said that it's going to power the island for about 9 to 10 days. What happens after that remains unclear.
Meanwhile, Mexico's president continues to weigh in on the situation in Cuba and also had some pointed words for the US. Now, this is over the death of a Mexican in ICE custody. What's the president had to say?
Yeah, so when it comes to Cuba, she said that basically her country has every right, that's Claudia Sheinbaum, has every right to send fuel to Cuba, whether it's for humanitarian or commercial reasons. She didn't specify a time frame, but we have, of course, seen Mexico cutting off the sending of oil or fuel earlier this year, given that pressure from the US. And yes, as you say, multiple areas of beef. So we heard earlier as well, basically Mexico vowing to take action after the death of another Mexican citizen in ICE custody. This was 52-year-old Jose Guadalupe Ramos Solano. He died last week in a detention center in Southern California. It's unclear how. ICE, for its part, the agency has said that he had diabetes, high cholesterol, blood pressure, and that he was found unresponsive and unconscious, that he then died in a nearby hospital after receiving CPR. But as I say, we cannot confirm the veracity of this, but it's the 4th time somebody has died at this facility this year. It's not even April, the 14th migrant already to die in ICE custody this year. And Mexico, for its part, is filing a legal brief as part of a class action looking at this centre, the conditions of this centre. It's privately operated. There's allegations there's mould, disease, medical neglect and inadequate food and water there. So certainly something that is coming into the crosshairs between Mexico and the US, and hugely important neighbours, hugely important trade relationship as well.
Katie, why are there clowns protesting on the streets of Bolivia's capital?
Yeah, you couldn't really write this, basically because it's not easy being a clown, and it seems like it's becoming harder in Bolivia. So the government has issued a new mandate that schools there must have 200 days of lessons a year, basically banning schools from hosting special events. And that's really when it's clown boom time, and they're frequently employed. So dozens of clowns, they were wearing full face paint and their red noses. They marched through the Bolivia's capital in La Paz, saying that the decree threatens their livelihoods. They gathered outside the Ministry of Education, and the head of the clown union said that basically children need to laugh, and that as a result of this, they questioned whether or not Bolivia's education minister had ever had a childhood. But yeah, certainly quite the story from La Paz yesterday.
I'm not that fond of clowns. They kind of creep me out a bit.
I'm with you, actually. And I can't understand all these school kids that would want to see a clown. But, yeah, I mean, maybe it's a very important part of Bolivian culture.
Indeed, and it delights a lot of people, just not us, Katie. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
that is Katie Silva, our Americas correspondent, joining us live there from Mexico City.